Well, Kelly's Court is back in session. On the docket today, spying on your children. Would you tag your child with a computer chip? It is happening in Rhode Island, where a school is putting tracking devices in its student backpacks. It's being done to grade schoolers. The school says this device will only be turned on when the children are on the school bus, allegedly hoping to help parents see where their children's buses are and whether those children are actually on those buses or not. But the ACLU calls this invasive and unnecessary, and a lawsuit could be in the wings. So is this practice legal? Let's ask our panel, defense attorney Mark Eiglarsh and Fox News legal analyst Lise Wheel. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, so the ACLU is upset. It's not so keen on the tracking devices on children. Lise, does the school, in conjunction with the parents, have the right to do this to these children?
Megan, absolutely. We're talking, first of all, about a pilot program. They're just trying it out for a couple of months to see if it works, and they would put the chips in the backpacks only while the kids are on the bus to make sure the kids get on the bus and get off the bus. I got to tell you, putting kids on a school bus, especially elementary kids, is a scary thing right now. I mean, over 5,000 kids, Megan, 5,000 kids annually are left on school buses. They never get off them, or they're on there, for hours after the bus has actually arrived at the school. We need to protect our children, and if communicating with the children through a chip is the way to do it, we should do it.
How about it, Mark? If your child was stuck on the school bus, wouldn't you like to pull up the technology online and you can see the chip and you see just your one little buddy sitting there on the bus all by himself? You get right out there. Why is it a good idea or not?
It's not. I disagree with Lise in that it's a horrible idea, and it's actually going to lead to potentially harming children and family. Here's why. I have 3 kids under the age of 6, so I jump on the bandwagon like Lise initially. Sure, this is a good idea. And then I do some research, and I find out that online, people can purchase these RFID devices that can intercept information from these chips and then be able to use that information to identify where the children are located.
Whoa.
So it's a pedophile's dream, potentially. And then number 2, there's information stored on that chip that I don't want average Joe pedophile to have. So while I think it's a good intentioned idea, it fails.
Lise, what about that? No one wants, what if a pedophile gets his eye on some young child and decides that's the one I want, taps into that child's chip and can follow him or her all around?
But these chips, though, do not have the name, they do not have the address, they do not have anything like that of the child. They just have an ID number that only the school and the parents are supposed to know. Are there possibilities for, a pedophile finding those combinations? Maybe, but let's at least give this, Megan, I got to tell you something. Let's at least give this a try. I have to tell you, about the worst half hour of my life I ever had was a few years ago when my son didn't show up after he was supposed to have been dropped off by the school bus. He had fallen asleep. They'd taken him back to the school shed where they, parked all of the buses. I didn't know for half an hour whether my kid had been abducted or not. I wish he'd had a chip.
Lise, that's a horrible story. However, you just conceded that pedophiles may have access to this information. And if that's the case, the question becomes, what are we trying to solve here? The problem, I think, is kids not wearing seatbelts on the bus.
Sure, I agree.
Not doing enough background investigation on who's driving these kids around. I think the limited resources should be put into protecting on those issues.
I agree. Put the seatbelts in. Absolutely. Do the background checks, and they're starting to do more of those. But when a little girl in New Jersey just last week was left at a shopping mall after she'd fallen asleep on a bus, and the bus driver had gone to the shopping mall to go to a second job, there's got to be something we can do about that.
It continues to get more and more controversial. Good arguments on both sides, though. Mark Eiglarsh, Lise Wheel, thanks so much for your insights on it. One final word for our viewers. Whether you think this is a good idea or a bad idea, it is very likely legal. If the parents consent, there should be no problem. And while children do have certain privacy rights, privacy from their parents really is not one of them.